Welcome to the Million Gold Nuggets podcast, where four dynamic women unite to share transformative insights on mindset, manifestation, spirituality, and the invaluable gems of wisdom that can elevate your life. We are parents, entrepreneurs, and friends from diverse corners of North America, passionate about sharing the lessons we've learned and implemented in our own journeys. Each week, join Nicole, Amber, Jennine, and myself as we dive into heartfelt conversations that inspire and uplift, blending personal development strategies with practical wisdom. Whether you're aiming for success, seeking personal growth, or simply looking to fine-tune your mindset and energy, we've got the gold nuggets you need to turn your dreams into reality. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and prepare to soak up the insights that can spark your transformation. Together, let's forge a path of collective growth and expansion, because the journey to fulfillment is all about collecting those precious gold nuggets. Welcome to the show. I'm Leslie, your host for today. In today's episode, we're going to be continuing to talk about the universal laws. Today, we will talk about the law of inspired action and how to use it to manifest our dreams and desires. Good day, ladies. It's so great to see you.
Hey.
I'm so excited to hear your take on the law of inspired action. But before we dive into this conversation, let me tell you a little bit about the law. The law of inspired action is about taking action towards your dreams and desires. It is not just any type of action, it is an inspired action. It is an action that is moved by a nudge that you feel within yourself. If it feels right, it's exciting, it's like an emotion. It's an action that comes from your intuition. It is a knowing that it is what I'm supposed to do right now towards my goals. This inspired action is not a whole plan to accomplish your goals. It's just the next step towards them, which then leads to the next nudge or the inspired action to take. Let's take this to our panel, to our ladies here for the discussion about the laws. Ladies, as I was reading this definition, I was thinking about, I'd like to know your take on what's the difference between inspired action and just normal action.
I love this because I feel like I just took action my whole life. And this is where the awareness piece kind of comes into play. Um, because I'm aware of that now, but now I actually sit with myself, and this could be a few seconds. Like, what am I feeling inspired to do? Right, like that excitement. So for me, one example is that I'm writing a book. So typically, a lot of people that have written, they're like, "Oh, I'm going to write every day, or I'm going to write a chapter every day, or write a certain frequency." For me, which is fine if that works for you. For me, I do it when I get inspired. That doesn't happen every day. Like sometimes I won't write for weeks, maybe even a month, but I'll just be sitting on the couch and there's this like pull inside of me that's like, whatever you're thinking right now, go write that down. I'm like, okay. Right. So I immediately go and I just start typing out, and then I'll go back and I'll read what I wrote. And I'm like, man, that was amazing. Right. Because I wasn't trying. I wasn't, well, it's 3 o'clock. I got to write. Right. And so I think that's that piece, right, of you get inspired. So maybe it's to engage in your business, or to make a phone call, or to write in your book, whatever it may be. But it's that place inside of you, right, coming from the soul, that is inspired in spirit to do that certain thing. And so it feels a lot better. A lot more freeing to do that. And like I said, sometimes I'll ask myself, like, okay, what do I want to do right now? Right, to get to that place. Just a few seconds. Okay, I want to go engage. I want to go work in my business. I want to go read. I want to go, XYZ. Um, so yeah, for me, I love this topic. This is amazing.
Awesome. That was
Yeah,
beautiful.
I totally agree with Amber because regular action is driven by external factors, while inspired action comes from a inner guidance.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And inspired action is, it feels effortless and natural. Whereas normal action, it usually feels like a chore. It's something that we have to do versus something that we get to do, So it definitely feels a lot lighter when it's inspired action because we are giving it over. We're doing it in spirit. So, we have the strength of faith behind us as well. So that the action that we take in that state is that much more powerful.
Yeah, beautiful. So I know you mentioned probably some of them in this conversation already, but what are some of the signs that you're not taking inspired action, but you're still staying busy?
Yeah.
I think we're feeling like really drained and exhausted. I think that's a pretty good sign that you're not taking inspired action, that you're trying to run around like a chicken with your head cut off and check off everything that's on the to-do list versus, doing it in spirit, feeling lighter and being guided and feeling energized almost by the action that you're taking versus drained.
Yeah, I know with me, it feels heavy if it's not inspired. It's like it's almost like I'm forcing myself to do it. But when I'm inspired, like you said, you feel light. It just flows easily. It comes naturally to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when you're not taking action, that is inspired, you can feel when you're not aligning with your goals and your values. Um, it's you can feel when that disconnect happens because you're not joyous about it and you're just doing it in a low vibration. It's like a have to or must to versus want to. And yeah.
I love that you brought up that whole thing about the vibration because it goes so nicely with the inspired part because when you're inspired, you're on a really high vibration. It
Mhm.
feels good, you're vibing, you're flowing. And when you're just taking regular action, it doesn't feel, um, like you said, it feels like a low vibration.
Yeah, it's taking the fun out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and you want to do things in alignment with with your goals and your values and things that you feel good about, not just because you have to or you're forced to, that kind of thing.
Mhm. Absolutely. Are there any daily habits or practices that you use to stay in alignment and recognize the inspired nudges that come?
For me, it's journaling. It's always taking time. I don't always meditate in the traditional sense, but I love spending time alone. I love taking walks in nature. And I just do a lot of thinking and processing. And then I'll likely do some journaling after because that's when I get the most inspired, is when I'm out in nature and I'm connecting with the world and I'm breathing in deep breaths, and I always get so much creative energy when I'm moving. So those are the two things that I do the most: meditation and journaling.
It kind of clears the space for the inspired energy to come in. If you're moving your
Yeah.
body, you're moving out that energy that may be stagnant, that's keeping you from doing something. You start to move your body and you start to smell the nice fresh air and maybe some of the flowers or the scents of nature, and it just opens it up for receiving, right?
Especially this time of year because it's spring and everything is opening up and blooming, and you know you get all the smells, and it's hard not to get inspired
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
creative. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say like, and I touch on this a little bit, but like also like being aware of like your body. So, um, within your body, we have like sensations that some of them are habitual actually, right? That we gained from, our upbringing or society or whatever. And so it's really like learning to understand what inspired being inspired feels like, right? Because maybe we didn't have a history of inspiration, right? I can say that for myself personally. So for me, I'm like, okay, the moments when I feel inspired, then I'm like, okay, take note of what that feels like, and then
Mhm.
listening to your body, right? And what that feels like, and when you're not, right? Because we've all done things, right? Whether it's, a job or like maybe cleaning or taking care of children or whatever, where it's that very just clunky, like, all right, here we are again. And so we know what that feels like versus, when I'm writing my book and I'm like, man, like this, this feeling, I could just type, 100 words a minute, and things like that. So it's really listening to, like I said, when I get quiet, and I do meditate and I do chanting and reading and journaling, all that stuff, but like really listening to like what I'm hearing inside, right? From source, from God, um, and just being aware of those things. Cause I think for some people that are like, well, I don't know, like I've never been inspired, right? It's just listening in the beginning, right? To what that feels like in our body. Cause there's like the feeling of like anxiousness and excitement are very, very close together, right? And sometimes they can get kind of intermingled, right? So I know people are like, oh, I'm anxious. And I'm like, are you really? Or are you just excited? But like, because they're very similar, right? So that's
Yeah.
something that we could pay attention to, is just like the feeling in our bodies, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say the very same thing, to the sensations, that your physical body is having. Um, you know, I can think of a time in the winter when it was snowing, and, I wanted to go out and play in the snow. And then I thought about, because I love the snow. And so I wanted to go out and play in the snow. And then I thought, well, the steps need shoveling anyway. So for me, that was kind of like a chore that I wasn't so much in alignment with at first. But then when I got out there and started shoveling, I was just like, man, I love doing this. And it was just, inspired action after that. And, something that I had thought about because I love the snow and I wanted to get out and play in it. And it turned out that chore that I thought was going to be a chore was actually fun anyway. So it was just, it was like going on that little nudge, like go on out anyway, go on. And it turned into being something fun and exciting for me.
Well,
Who
that's
knew I
wonderful.
like shoveling snow?
Right? Sometimes one little action can lead to an inspired action.
Yeah,
Right?
and that certainly did for me.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Sounds wonderful. I know with me, I get my most inspired very early in the morning. Um, when I'm just sitting quietly. It's usually when I get all my nudges and inspiration. It's just a matter of I have to take the action maybe later on in the day because it's too early in the morning to take the action for some things. Other times it's not, right? So it just really depends. But so sitting quietly, feeling like you have all talked about, um, exercising gives me lots of, um, like I was saying earlier, lots of space to allow for that to come in. And also, I like to listen to inspiring people like on podcasts because they inspire me all the time to do something, right? They give me an idea, or I think, oh, they're doing it, like I can do that too, right? And I'm not talking about those that show off their, you know, big Lamborghinis and things like that. To me, that doesn't inspire me. It's like doing things for other people or doing something for yourself. That's where I get my inspiration from, is other people that are doing those type of things.
Love that. And I
Yeah.
think that's so great, right? Like you can pull on those things that get you in that feeling, right? Like Amber said, get to know what that feeling is for you, and then start finding the things that put you in that feeling. And so when you take action, so if you're taking action in your business, you're taking action towards your health, or, working on your relationship, or whatever the case may be, you get yourself inspired, you get yourself in spirit, and then take the action. And that is how you take the inspired action.
Yeah, and sometimes just even thinking about what your goals are and
Mhm.
why you're doing it can create that inspiration for you to do something else right then and there. And it just comes to you very quickly once you've been thinking about what why you're doing certain things. So just always keeping that in mind, or maybe visualizing your end scenes of these big goals that you want to achieve. It can really inspire you to do something towards getting closer to those goals.
I love that you mentioned that, Leslie, about like one step may take you to another step for inspired action. Because many people may think, okay, I wake up every day and I'm waiting to be inspired, and it's not happening, right? So it doesn't, it can happen like that. Like the times where I get my inspiration to write, like it's immediately, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, oh God, where's my computer? Right. But it doesn't always happen in that quick step like that. For those viewers that are like, what am I looking for? Right. Kind of thing. So I love that you brought it up, because you're right. Like it may be a conversation with a friend. I know that happens to me a ton. A friend of mine's like, oh, I'm starting, to go live on my Facebook every day for my business or whatever. And I'm like, interesting. Let me talk to my husband about that, right? Like for our business or whatever. Or, another friend's like, oh, journal prompts, for instance, or something, right? Oh, that's a really good idea, right? Like you said, a podcast, and you're right. It's going to be the ones that are inspiring. Like, this is how I give back, or this is what I've been doing, right? Or it may be my neighbor or something, just any little thing that could then lead you to that, right? To try that thing or to create your own. So I love that you mentioned that, because like I said, there are going to be some people that are like, how do I get there? I wake up every day and I'm looking and it's not getting anything. So yeah, it may be a step that leads you to the step, or in Jannine's case, it may be a literal step that you shovel and then you get to play in the snow, right?
Yeah. Well, and I love that you brought up like even talking to somebody. So like the company that you keep, like your friends, that you hang around the most or you talk to are the ones that are supporting you and inspiring you too, right? So if you're someone who's wanting to, reach their goals and change their life, and you're gonna start to hang around people that are doing the same thing, that have the like mindset, and that in itself will help you with your getting your inspired feelings and your nudges, right? Mhm. Is there anything else that you ladies would like to say about inspired action? Well, inspired actions are kind of little steps, but they are big steps that lead us to our big goals and dreams. And they often bring us an incredible feeling of joy and positivity. It's the right thing that you should be doing at that time. Inspired action is all about following your gut, trusting your energy, and moving when it feels aligned, even if it's just a little tiny step. That's where the magic lies. So thanks everyone for tuning in to the Million Gold Nuggets podcast. If you got value out of this episode or think someone would benefit from it, please hit the share button, and don't forget to like and hit the bell icon to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Until we meet again, remember, the journey to fulfillment is all about collecting those precious gold nuggets. Until next time.